Your mind is limitless. The possibilities are endless. Awaken Your Mind Magic shows you how you can dream limitlessly and live your life on a new level. Susan Kathleen speaks with ordinary people who are living extraordinary lives using the power of their mind.
Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside.
Abundance, prosperity, and success. There are no limits to what you can dream. Join Susan Kathleen on a journey into your dreams, making a difference and living life on your own terms. This is Awaken Your Mind Magic.
Hello and welcome, everyone. My guest speaker today is Nina Ashby, who I was so fortunate to meet at a transformational coaching weekend workshop in London way back in 2017. Where we're immediately drawn to each other and resonated as if we'd known each other all our lives. Nina's a gifted psychic, an exciting, articulate communicator, and an experienced psychic reader, teacher, author, and healer of international repute. She was born with the ability to see the aura, and she spent 15 years training in art and the science of perception in order to understand deeply and to communicate clearly what she perceives before becoming a professional reader. And having worked professionally with clients worldwide for nearly 40 years as a clairvoyant, color expert, aura reader, medium and spirit channel, card reader, and that's to name a few, she can incorporate astrology, numerology, palmistry, and face reading, including flower reading, along with her clairvoyance. She is also a qualified hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, an Akashic Record reader and healer. And I've experienced some of the wonderful healing. And she has helped me after my husband died some 5 years ago. More than the average shrink could. So I thank you for that, Nina. And my gifted friend and guest today is just this perfectly beautiful spirit living this human life, helping so many people. Welcome, Nina. It is so wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you, Susan. And yes, thank you. That was lovely. And I feel the same about you. Meeting you is like meeting a sister. And I'm so fortunate in this lifetime to have so many spiritual connections and contacts with people. Sisters from other mothers, sons from other mothers, friends from other worlds. And my late husband, who was in the same business, we had a business together. He said, I never met so many foreign people till I met you, because my clientele and my friendship base has always been international. And I love that. I'm a worldwide person. I'm an international person. I'm from New York City originally, but I've lived in France and Spain and in Britain for 37 years, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Nina, you are an international traveler. You're also a cosmic traveler.
Oh,
and
yes.
when you work in the Akashic Records and things like that, would you let the listeners know more about that for the ones who don't understand what you know and what you help people with?
Well, we are multidimensional beings and multifaceted beings. And I think what human beings do in order to stay safe and to stay in survival mode is to create limitations and boundaries. We have to do that to a certain extent because we have to filter all the information coming in at us from so many sources in order to make choices, to live, etc. But in doing so, we become habituated, and we create patterns for ourselves. We're born with patterns, and those patterns are very important for our spiritual growth and our primary experience here on the planet. But we also impose restrictions upon ourselves and create boxes for ourselves that are very difficult to climb out of. And even when we want to change, it's so difficult to change. We all know that about the simplest things. So I feel that I am an agent for change, for people who are looking to know themselves better, to live more comfortably within themselves, to feel more connected to their sense of purpose. Because it's our sense of purpose which drives us forward to lead happier lives, to lead more fulfilled lives, to feel more motivated, to feel even more relaxed. It's not about doing, it's about being. And every facet of work that I do with people is very dependent upon the individual who comes to me. I'm not formulaic. I have a toolkit. I have a big belt of tools that I apply according to the need of the individual and the desire for change within that individual. So all our patterns are contained within our energy field from the moment we're born. A lot of the patterns that we need in order to fulfill, let's say, our spiritual mission by being alive here on Earth. And in the Akashic Record, which is our primal space, all is possible, but those conditions of limitation are there for reasons that cause us to focus. So by consulting the part of ourselves that is way, way above energetically how we operate here on the physical plane, and consult its wisdom, we can work on genetic heritage, we can work on things that are missing that can be retrieved, we can look at new potentials and possibilities to work with the patterns that are there for us to help us not see them as punishments for past deeds in other lifetimes that we have no connection to, but indeed something that is an asset for our learning and growth as a human being here on this planet. So everything that I do is about connection and growth and understanding that adversity, for example, is the springboard to health. And health, not just in a physical sense of health, but from a multidimensional health. What is health? It is wholeness. It's a sense of alignment between what we're supposed to be doing, what we want to do, and how we do it and achieve it here on Earth within the conditions that present themselves to us.
When you talk about all of this, Nina, how would a listener who contacts you and asks you to help them, how do you explain to them how this works? What do they give to you in order for you to be able to carry out the process of understanding this individual person?
Well, if somebody were coming to me specifically for an Akashic Record reading and healing, they would have to have a little bit of knowledge anyway about that, what that meant. And I would explain to them that this is a place where we can retrieve, high-level information about purpose. We can make changes within one's energetic structures so that as they move down the plane, there's a difference in how people act on Earth, because there's always a connection between a high-level subtle energy and how it manifests eventually into the physical world. So I would tell them how I would work, which would be that I would open my field, they would open their field, I would step into their field, and I would be their spokesperson because I connect energetically to their world, and I have a conversation with that higher self part of them that is their Akasha, their Akashic field, which is the record holder.
So I beg your pardon, Nina, what is channeling?
So channeling is like plugging a lead into your computer and retrieving information about your world without imposing my world on it and feeding it back.
So do you do that with unconditional love in order to not do that, to take from them?
I'm not taking.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is I'm acting as an observer. I'm a channel. So you think I'm channeling that information. I'm not including myself. I'm just being like a tube and then speaking through the tube. And I'm not giving my opinions. I'm not, I might choose to direct the flow, information flow by asking particular questions and opening up new pathways to retrieve information to go into the record, but I'm not doing it from a place of judgment and not place of trying to impose myself. In fact, I'm trying to step out of the way as much as possible from that process. And that's what being a channel is. It's about allowing other information to come through from another level that is not of our logical thought processing information band.
You, as an award-winning psychic and healer, I so love you for that, because my mother has just recently died, as you know, and under circumstances that were extremely sad during COVID-19, where nobody was with her. She was in extreme pain. And of course, I came to you and spoke to you about this. And later on, without me even asking, you came back to me and you spoke to me about the fact that you'd actually looked in on her to see how she was. Would you, and I'm very happy for you to share this, would you like to share with the listeners what you managed to do for me, which helped me so much, and I think would likely help many other people who are going through stress and trauma of a lost one?
Well, first of all, I did ask your permission.
Yes, of course you did.
No, this is very important because, you said I went and looked into it.
Yes.
I didn't look into it without your permission.
No,
that's
absolutely.
A very important aspect of spiritual ethics is that you just don't go up and do stuff without people's permission. The second thing that I did was I connected to your energy, then I got her first name and I connected to her energy, but I felt her energy around you anyway. So it wasn't as if I was raising her from any state of the dead that, was bad or evil or anything. She was present already. It was like she was in that room with us, even though she wasn't in her physical presence, she was in her energetic presence with you. And so I initiated a conversation with her, just like we're having a conversation now on an energy level. As a medium, spiritual medium, I get information. I sometimes hear things. Most of the time I see things or get a mental transmission as well as an emotional feeling. It depends on, like any relationship, the kind of connection that you have with somebody. And she gave me certain information for you about her, what she saw, what she felt about things, how she felt about you, what she saw in her situation, and how, about herself, which was very comforting to you. I don't have to go into the particulars of that, but that's the nature of the connection. And then it was very evident to us that she was ready to pass into the light, but she didn't know how, and she couldn't let go, and there were things that were troubling her. So we had a conversation about that between the three of us, and then we did some prayers for her, and those prayers were about showing her the light, about allowing her to see that she had lived her life and that this was another phase she was passing into, and that there were people on the other side who were waiting for her, and that it was okay, and that Susan particularly was wanting her to go to a place where there was no more pain, there was no more suffering, and that she didn't have to stay for her benefit. Because just like people here want to please other people spiritually, people want to continue to please other people, and sometimes they don't allow themselves to go out of concern for the people who are left behind. So the result of carrying out this very simple spiritual ceremony of prayer and bringing in the light and surrounding her and bringing in her angels and things like that, then at the end of it, we all felt uplifted. We all connected to a higher place, and all of us could let go of something. And so that was what happened, and it was a beautiful experience.
It certainly was. And I have to say to everybody listening, it was comforting because I couldn't be with my mother. And Nina facilitated the ability for me to also let go, because I felt I couldn't, because I felt very guilty that I couldn't get on an airplane and travel to be with my mother from Australia to South Africa, where she was dying, all alone, all by herself, and very scared. And Nina helped me and helped my mother. And I watched Nina when she was doing this, and you could see the compassion and true love of a friend and of the person that she wanted to help move to the other side. And that was incredible, Nina. And I thank you for that. And I'm saying this publicly so everybody knows that you are an incredible woman and psychic. On top of this, Nina is not only an award-winning psychic, she's an award-winning hypnotherapist and a writer. Tell us more about your hypnotherapy.
Well, hypnotherapy is something that took me a long time to study, and I was always interested in it. And when I formally studied it, I found out that a lot of the work that I already do with people is very similar, but it gave me a different framework from which to enter into conversations with people and do the work, do the healing work, because everything is in hypnotherapy is working at a subconscious level and looking at blocks and looking at how we, as I said before, we limit our own capabilities by our beliefs, by our trauma, by the things in life that have occurred, whether we come in with them spiritually or otherwise, or acquire them over the course of living. So hypnotherapy is a very powerful tool, and I really enjoy working with clients who are dedicated to their process of change, and it's also another means of doing that.
What helped you awaken your mind magic as a child? Tell us your story.
Well, I grew up in a household of people who were very caring for social care. My father was a doctor and extremely dedicated. My mother's a teacher, and preschool and primary school, and always believed in community and giving and back, etc. And at the same time, and in their own way, avant-garde, and at the same time, quite conservative. And they don't know what psychic was from beans, you know. But when I was 3 years old, I realized that I didn't see the world like other people saw the world, you know, until that time. Because I was a bit precocious, you know. I could talk and walk and everything by the time I was like 9 months old. And yeah, I was reading. I did a lot of stuff. So I was aware as a child. And I saw things. And I was absolutely enchanted with color, because I saw the world, as I still do, with color, you know. And I remember standing on the stairs the first time I was aware that I was different, and looking at my mother and started telling her about what I was seeing around her. And basically, what I understand in retrospect is that she was freaking out.
I can only laugh at this, Nina, because I did exactly the same as a girl. And I was told that I was mad in my head.
well, my mom didn't tell me I was mad. She just kind of gave me the look, changed the subject. And I remember just thinking, oh, I'm not allowed to talk about this. So that was the message. It was very loud, very clear. And what I did from that moment forward was to still talk about color, but in an acceptable way, because my family's very into art. So, so I was an artist, and that's what I became professionally, and that was acceptable in my family. It was embraced. They were very happy for me to be an artist. And they were happy for me at 15 to take a class in yoga, which really kickstarted my journey into Hinduism and meditation. And I was always interested in religion. And, you know, again, you walk upon a pathway, take a journey into life, and nothing you do is ever wasted. But you don't know necessarily when you're on that pathway, how the hell am I going to use this? Or, you know, is it, you know, going to be useful, or am I going to be doing it forever? And these are the kinds of questions that come to me all the time. Like, oh, but if I do that, is a mistake. I'm saying there are no mistakes, because when I look back at my life, I'm a psychic now. I could never have conceived ever that I would be a psychic. It wasn't even part of my world until 20 years later, after my revelation at 3 years old. And when I was in my early 20s, I started to be a mad person. I studied everything that came to me. You know, I studied palmistry, I studied astrology, I studied esoteric healing, I studied this, I did Buddhist meditation. I mean, my friends would say to me, why are you doing all this? And I say, I have to. There was something inside of me that was pushing me there. And I was making art. And I was successful as an artist. I sold $10,000 worth of art a year for years. That's more than most artists make in their lifetime. I wasn't famous, but it supplemented my income. It paid for itself. It supplemented my income as working part-time. But my passion was finding out about things that were subtle, and when I look back, I think, well, you know, what is training to be an artist? It's about training to keep your vision open. And what am I? I'm a clairvoyant. I have to have clear vision. So it all kind of like, makes sense. But when you're in it, it's very hard to see it, which is why we need other people to be our mirrors. And that's in a way exactly what I do. I'm a mirror for my clients' experiences. And by showing them what they've created, I can say, look, you've got a palette. You can create something different. You can rewrite your script. You can bring in new colors. You can brighten and lighten everything in your life. And therefore, I am that kind of facilitator. So I hope I've answered your question.
Oh, yeah. The thing is, we've had these conversations before, and we both were, well, I know I was blown away at the almost like a mirror reflection, sister, of my experience as a child as well, where I was born seeing auras. I thought people just could all do it. And well, they can if they open themselves up to it. And it was the same sort of thing as well, Nina, where I was basically told to zip up my mouth, button up, girl, because people out there are going to talk about you. And it wasn't PC. Whereas in this time, at this present time, in this century, we are becoming more and more acclimatized to the fact that everything is interconnected and we are all energy, and we have this absolute possibility. I mean, me as a Reiki master healer, I know that I heal people with energy, and it's the same thing that you can do. And it's something that we can all do. We just have to be able to tap into it. This wonderful interconnected energy, and this everybody I have met, like you, are often said, "Oh, I was precocious as a child." Well, we get told we were precocious for the simple reason that they don't know what else to brand us as. We're just different,
Different.
Just a lot of misfits getting together, doing what they got to do, and we are put here to be able to heal and help. And that's a passion for learning.
We're seed bearers.
There you go.
We were seed bearers for our time. And in every time, there are seed bearers that bring new things in, new ways of seeing, new ways of doing. And to be a seed bearer means that you live at the edge. You're always living at that edge, because people who are normal don't get it. And yet you're not abnormal. Like my friends call me the most non-flaky, the most grounded psychic they know. I'm not flaky, because I know my stuff.
True psychics, true healers do not have to put on the woo-woo sort of hippie type thing that people like you and I have been branded with, because we're professionals. And this is what I like the listeners to understand. People working in these fields and the really good ones, like Nina is an award-winning psychic and hypnotherapist and healer. These people are professional. And when you see Nina, she is dressed up she looks like somebody who would be in a corporate. Or when she puts on her artist hat, she wears these bright, vibrant colors. And there is this amazing soul being a visionary. Now, Nina, tell us where you trained as a visual artist.
Well, I trained as a visual artist. I was a professional sculptor. So, I went to university. I went to Beloit College in America, where I took my degree in fine arts. And then I set up my studio. And when I chose not to go to an art school. I chose to go to a university to get an education, to learn about lots of things. Because in America, we do like a humanities course where we have to do soft science, hard science, maths, English. I've studied French. Did a lot of things, including my art. And because for me to be an artist was what was important, not to just learn techniques. You can learn techniques anywhere. What you have to learn is to see. You have to learn to to be true to your vision. And in a way, it's about keeping connected. It's about looking at the world in your way and then expressing it to others in some kind of physical format, whether that be 2 or 3 dimensionally, that jolts people out of their robotic humdrum worlds of, get up, go to bed, school, etc., and start to wake up and see, to be refreshed, to refresh their vision, to take them out of things. That's the most beautiful art, is things that move us somehow. And that was my goal. So in order to do that, training to be an artist was about training my ability to retain my vision, expand my vision, learn skills in order to express that vision.
That's a wonderful way of expressing yourself. And of course, when you speak, Nina, your words are painted. And I know that the listeners will be hearing your painted words and that you're lyrical. And getting to that, I would love for you to share about you being an author.
Well, being an author was not easy for me because I'm very good at speaking, but it's much harder for me to put things down in an organized way. And I am somewhat dyslexic, so I have sequencing problems, not so much with, I have sequencing problems. So for me, first of all, learning about, to be a bit geeky and learn about using computers and was a revelation because I could cut and paste without having to physically do it with paper like I did in university. Legal sheets, writing, cut them up, tape them together, et cetera, et cetera. So I had very good help, but I loved being able to, I was invited to publish 2 books, one being called Develop Your ESP, which is all about how, what being psychic is all about, and from lots of different perspectives, and how people perceive it, misconceptions about being psychic, what it means, the different types of being psychic. So it's kind of a very simple book. It's for the rank beginner who knows absolutely nothing. And it's full of advice and meditations and explanations and can take you on a journey for self-discovery. And with that, I also published some digital download files that are available on my website that go with the book for the exercises. So if you actually purchase the book, which is available on Amazon, Develop Your ESP, Nina Ashby, then you will find that those exercises are spoken and you don't have to read it and try and do it at the same time. So that book I was very proud of because it's also very useful for professionals who are teaching and want some guidance, want some reminders or refreshers about real fundamentals for what is your energy and how do you manage your energy in the world. It's not even necessarily about being a professional psychic. We all have psychic ability. We all have the ability to utilize that in such a way as to make your life easier, to understand what your boundaries are, which is something that a lot of people have problems with psychologically and practically in their lives, and etc. So that's one book. And my other book was called Simply Color Therapy, which is all about what color is and how you can use it in your daily life. Apply it, because color relates to emotion and psychology. And so if you're developing business cards or want to dress for success in something, it's got advice like a practical way, but it also has the spiritual side of things about, how to sort of understand what your dominant energy color is, and then what that means in terms of your life challenges and what you come into this lifetime to do, and what you bring in on a positive level as well, support that. So again, simplistic, but we know that the simple things are always the hardest to understand. So it's a great reference book. It's not a novel. It's something to dip into. But I was, very proud of my books because I think that a lot of people regurgitate material. And for me, writing the books was an important opportunity to share my experiences. Everything that's in that book is of my experience. So I know myself that it's been vetted, so to speak.
And it's from your heart as well. And
yes.
and it's not anybody else's story. It is yours. And that's, again, thing that I love about you, because you're extremely authentic. And that's going to bring me into asking you about your signature program and how you help your clients. And that's as a coach, of course. She wears many hats, this lady.
Well, I developed what I call my Align program, which is a course of personal development, and where I mentor people who are committed to developing their spirituality to live a more joyful and fulfilled life in alignment with their purpose. And during the course of that, I support them in dealing with the devil they know, to understand where their sensitivity is and release deep karmic patterns that cause self-sabotage and stress, and leave them feeling confused and insecure and demotivated, and therefore unhappy in their lives. So by being their guide through this Align program, I guide them to develop their awareness, to stay connected to their self, to understand their inner self, to be energetically secure and poised to approach life more simply and boldly, having more of what they want in a way that's what I call serious fun, because it's serious stuff, but it can be done in a fun and manner, in a way where we can learn to laugh with ourselves and laugh at ourselves and move forward.
Very important. And how long is this program that your signature program? Is it a couple of days? Is it a couple of weeks? What do you take them?
It's a 3-month program, and it is a course of personal development. Therefore, it is serious, and we know that habits need to be reinforced. So what we're doing is deconstructing and reconstructing, if you will. So the first part of the program is very much about looking at who you are, looking at the areas of dissatisfaction, looking at the pattern behind them and kind of busting that. And then through a series of weekly meetings with me online, we do the inner work, the deep inner work. And what that means is me giving some very concrete exercises that the individual taking the program would need to go away and make a commitment to doing, and then having feedback for that. And so this is a progression, a building blocks progression of psychic and personal development, teaching meditation, which is always good about centering skills and how you apply that to your life, whether that's in relationships aspect of your life, and that could be your relationship with other people always starts with yourself and then moves to looking at family, and then of course looking at relationship in terms of partnerships, love, or commercial partnerships, because those are partnerships too. So we look at work. So this is a rounded program to get you targeted to connect to yourself and be more authentic in every part of your life and learn skills, it's learning, it's active learning. It's not just mental theory, although there is that part of it. This is feedback to get you to another place. So I'm the facilitator.
As you say, you're the mirror, which is fabulous. Do you do this in a group, or is it a one-on-one weekly coaching that you offer your clients?
At the moment, it's a one-on-one coaching. Because I feel that's quite important to have that concentrated energy and focus. And I hold my clients' backs, they can always email or text me during the course of the week, as long as it's not constant, but showing that they're doing the work and having an authentic question. Because I do give tough love and I am direct.
You certainly are. You're a New Yorker.
I'm a New Yorker. Eventually, though, I will start up a group, and it's also working in groups is useful because people learn from each other and feed off of each other too.
Now, I want you to share something that has always, I often think of it when I think of you, is your wonderful story of your religious background and how you married this gentleman and who he was. Come on, let's hear that story. It's a cool story, everyone.
Oh, okay. Well, if people say, what's your religion? I'll say, well, I'm a Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, Christian.
There you go.
There
As you
go.
do.
As you do. I was brought up and culturally Jewish, and I still feel that. I studied and participated as a Buddhist for many years, and then also as a Hindu. I was a yoga teacher, lived in ashram, it was all important part of my learning that really the paths are many, but the truth is one. And when I was running a yoga center for an organization in Montreal, I was about 31 years old. I started getting this message in my meditations, go to London, go to London. What do you do with a message like that?
You go to London.
You say, you start arguing, right? Right? Now, what do you mean go to London? I don't know anybody in London. I don't have the money to go to London. ... Right? So every time I sat down to lead a meditation twice a day, because I was running the meditations twice a day, what did I do? Go to London. That's what it kept saying to me. Finally, after 2 weeks, I ran out of excuses. I said, well, if God wants me to go to London, God's going to have to find a way to get me there because I can't figure it out. So I wrote off a letter to Paris and to London, to the yoga centers, and offered my services in teaching massage and gave them a recommendation as to the terms of how I would like to do that. And I had chosen a time frame for that. And then I posted the letter. I didn't know it was going to happen. And then the next day, I got a call on the telephone. Hello, you don't know who I am, but I've heard you're a wonderful clairvoyant. And I'm a professional clairvoyant, and I'm going away for May and June. And I would like you, if you would consider it, to take all my clients for me. Jaw drops open. Well, I was running a yoga center, so I would have to, change, right? And I was planning on going away in July. So this was very interesting to me. So anyway, I said, let me get back to you. Thank you very much. That's very kind and interesting. And I took her number and I left it at that. And the next day, I got a phone call from my best friend who'd been away for a fortnight. And she said, hi, Nina, before we get into any kind of conversation about, what's been going on, I'd like to ask a favor of you. I said, sure. She said, well, my roommate is going away for May and June. And I'd like to put up a notice in the yoga center about somebody subletting the spare room in my house. And I thought, holy cow, this is amazing. So I told her what was going on. She said, oh, you can live with me. It's really inexpensive and you can use my car and I have a place you can work from. And and that was the beginning of this incredible time of connection, synchronicities and flow. Mm-hmm. And it ended up with me making all the money I need, being able to book my ticket. And I landed in London on the 3rd of July and went to a museum during the day. And in 1983, there were no cell phones or any mobile phones or anything like that. So there was a big fat yellow pages, and I tried to look up psychics and clairvoyance. There was nothing there. I went back to the yoga center for dinner, and she said, well, what are you doing tomorrow? I said, nothing particular. I'm going to be in London. She said, well, we're going to be we are exhibiting in the Mind, Body, Spirit Festival. And I want to know if you'd like to go along and talk to people and tell them about your experiences and yoga, etc. And I said, sure, as long as I can get in for free. She said, yeah, that's no problem. We'll get you a pass. Meanwhile, I was trying to figure out how I was going to meet the healers and the psychics in London. And I walked into Olympia, which is a huge public exhibition center. And there they all were.
Waiting for Nina.
Front of me. I thought, wow, I got the goosebumps. And I did my stint at the yoga stand and went around. And I ended up at upstairs. And there were lots of readers and a table in front with 3 men standing in front of it who were taking bookings. So I went up and approached, and I introduced myself as a psychic from the States, and I wanted to speak with somebody about what was happening in England. And he said, well, I can't help you, but maybe this man can. So that man took me for a cup of tea, as one does in England. And we chatted for about 15 minutes. He said, well, I really, would love to speak at greater length, but I have to get back to work. It's not fair to my colleagues. So what are you doing in 2 days' time, which is when my day off? And I said, well, I'm free to do anything I like. He said, well, would you like to get together? So he said, meet me at Brixton Tube Station at such and such a time, and we'll make a connection. So I said yes, and gave me his phone number and et cetera. And I met him, and that was the man who I married, basically. And we went on this magical mystery tour. We had the most amazing time. And I met him on July 4th. I married him on December 4th. So basically, that's how I got to England. And I had wanted to go to find a new place to live. But the universe provided it for me. And it was the end of a cycle of asking to be moved to the right place, and then being moved in the right place through a relationship. I was married to Douglas, my late husband, for 32 years. We were business partners. He was a very loving, very special, very wise person who I learned a tremendous amount from. And we taught each other a great deal. And so life brings amazing things when you kind of ask. I asked to be moved from New York, and I didn't know how it was going to happen, and I got moved to Montreal. And I took a huge risk to do that because I had a very successful massage business. I mean, really successful massage business. And when I was offered the opportunity to be a yoga teacher for this organization, that meant giving up my apartment. It meant not getting a salary, not making money. It meant, moving away from my business. And I thought, no, this is what I need to do. I had the conviction when I looked into myself, this is what I need to do. And it all worked out because I sublet my apartment, and I, still made some money through the colleague who took my clients, and we had an arrangement. So I could go slot myself back there. But after spending a certain amount of time before going to England, I was all ready to start a business in Montreal and move to Canada. And my friends were saying to me, what are you doing? You're giving up your beautiful apartment and your successful business and your this and that. I said, I don't know. This is what I have to do. It's the right thing for me to do. And they all thought I was nuts, as usual. So I was brave enough and had enough courage of conviction to do what was right for me. And then that's always led me to a new place in my life.
This is where you do awaken your mind magic, where you follow your intuition, that still quiet voice. And with all of your wonderful training and everything, you have the ability to know that this comes from a higher power as well, which is our limitless ability of interconnecting energetically with God or the God force or universal spirit, whatever you want to call it. And I love as well that, and I'm going to reveal this here, this gentleman that she married, this wonderful Douglas, was an Anglican. I wonder what your parents thought about that.
Well, they were not terribly approving or happy about it. They never came to my wedding because we had a Christian wedding. And I mean, they were very nice to Douglas and didn't allow it to get in the way too much of, the relationship, but they weren't terribly happy.
And this is the thing that is incredible about you, is that even from a child, you understood that you were a total individual and that you were here for a unique reason. And regardless to your birth parents, the people who you came onto this earth through, who you chose to be your birth parents, you knew that whatever you did was what you needed to do. And we talk about that in the quantum field, where we talk about I am. And that is your self-love and your ability to be able to get to the next situation. I mean, you had a very happy long marriage. You had a business partner and you became extremely successful in London. And especially, I mean, I know that you work with crystals as well, and that you use them for healing powers, and people from all over the world come to you for your information and your ability to heal with those. Speak a little bit more about that.
Crystals are an elemental life force that has intelligence and wisdom and resonate with who we are, because we are made up of crystalline substance. And a lot of people see nature or inanimate nature, such as rocks and crystals, as being dead or not having life. But they do. They have incredible life. And they have, electromagnetic properties. They have a lot of different kinds of properties that are unique unto themselves and interact with who we are. And so being a crystal healer, one uses those inherent properties of the crystals and place them within the field of an individual to help move life force around our field. And that's what acts as an agent to facilitate the body's self-healing processes. And when you work on somebody energetically, there are physical effects and there are psychological effects that occur. And that's what healing is about, a whole approach.
You've recently studied about the healing power of trees.
Ooh,
Let me know and let the audience know about that, because we all hug trees, us woo-woo people, except many woo-woo people don't know why they hug the trees, but you do.
Well, trees are an amazing force, because trees are our counterparts, our opposite counterparts. As human beings, as mammals, we breathe out carbon dioxide and we breathe in oxygen, and that is absolutely necessary for our survival. And trees are placed on this planet to breathe in carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. So we couldn't live without the trees. And trees are stationary beings that have a special personality. So as a species, all ash trees, all oak trees, all maple trees, etc., they connect with each other. Elemental energies are a group force rather than an individuated force. And by tapping into the specific properties and intelligence that trees have within them, their life force, we can use them as they use us for healing. So we can move around and share our experience. They can be stationary and share their experiences. They root and ground us. They can transform our inner energies, and they can also help to lighten and enlighten. So it's an interspecies communication, if you will, that is a benefit to both. And I use trees, or shall I say, I ask the trees for help from my healing grove to facilitate healing for people, whether they're in front of me, or I do most of it is distance healing work. And it works. It's amazing. I'm constantly amazed.
Is it their energy, their aura? What is it? Are they like humans?
No, they're not like humans. They're like trees.
I love you, Nina. You're so fun. Okay, so what is a tree? How does a tree think? How does a tree think?
I don't know how a tree thinks, but what I perceive is that it has a very powerful energy that connects psychologically. So if you stand and hug a tree, you get an energy transmission into your heart and into your electromagnetic field. And you can feel tension draining away. You can feel an impulse of vitality into your aura that is this exchange of life force between you and the tree. And you can say, what is an exchange of life force? It's an exchange of information. I don't know why the tree necessarily wants to have our sadness or our stress or whatever, but what it does is it takes it and it disperses it and allows that flow like crystals do. But in a different way, a different kind of activity. It's wood activity, not.
That's interesting. So very likely, it's just my concept, because they're so much older and wiser, like crystals are, than us young humans, very likely they want to be able to heal us because they've been around a heck of a lot longer than we have.
Well, they operate at a very different speed of a pace of life. And they're stationary. Unless somebody carries that around, you can't, the tree doesn't move. And unless the squirrel or the wind takes the seed someplace else, they can't pass that along too far from where the seed drops, and the rock picked up and carried to another part of the world. But just because they're separated doesn't mean they're not in connection with everything else. I mean, it's been proven scientifically that trees, like all of them, the microscopic tendrils of the root system are communicating with all the rest of the trees of their tribe or their species. They're all in communication with each other. They know.
I've actually read somewhere where, let's say, a mother or father tree has dispersed its seeds and the seeds grow. Its roots know and discover and lead towards those baby trees that are growing. And they see to it that other trees that aren't their baby trees are unable to grow as well as their babies. And that fascinated me when I read that.
I love trees. And one of the things that I love about England, it has very amazing trees.
It does.
Trees. I mean, incredible. And that was even in the 1980s when I arrived here. I thought, this place has the best trees. And what was so fascinating is that I started to read. I mean, there was an old book from the 70s called The Secret Life of Plants, which I highly recommend, by somebody Bird. And he did a whole load of experiments about psychological, like energy transmissions between humans and plants. And he did it with, testing electromagnetic frequencies and growth, and why we talk to plants, they thrive, or why they play music to plants and they thrive, or you think about your plants and then they start perking up like, oh, I'm going to get watered, like your dog is waiting at home, your plants are waiting at home to be watered. So, this whole sense of what we now know as global interconnection has been part of that, the elemental world forever. And we as human beings forget we are part of that. We are animals. We are part of the cell of the planet Earth.
We absolutely are. We're part of the universe. We are children of the universe. Nina, you work with flowers. How do you work with flowers? Can you explain that?
Well, I think, first of all, flowers, again, are a living plant. And I love to have flowers in my workroom or my, because they're a living energy and they each have their delicate nature. If I do flower readings, it's like any kind of reading in a way. There's a symbolic structure that you apply to the reading. So the flower would be the fruition, if you will. It's not the fruit, but it is the beautiful end product of the plant trying to recreate itself. And that represents the head, and the stem would represent your body, and leaves and branches would be your arms or how you reach out to things, and the roots are how you connect to things. And when you look at, there's a system for flower reading. And so what you do is you offer a bunch of flowers to somebody, and then you look at the stem, you look at the leaves, you look at the structure of it, you look at the type of flowers. Is one flower, is it a head of flowers? Is it drooping? Is it up? Is it damaged? Is it not damaged? Is it, and then you use that as a metaphor to understand the individual because they have selected it. So there's a message behind it.
And nothing is by chance. Everything is for a reason. So even what's selected by a person, be it a flower or a crystal, it works because that instinctively is what they've chosen.
Yes, and the same thing with cards. For example, people say, oh, you're just reading the cards. I said, well, the cards come up for a reason. That's why we shuffle and cut them. It's like stirring a pot, and they come up to the surface, and the images are giving you a story, telling you things directly. They don't lie. They tell about your experience, even if that experience is confusion. Everything is connected in my world.
Nina, thank you so much for your really amazing information and your sharing. Do you have a discovery call or a strategy call that you can offer to people who would be very interested in coming to you to work with you, alongside you as a client?
Yes, well, I offer many different types of services. If you feel that you are in a place in your life where you're really serious about working on yourself, developing a greater depth of understanding about yourself, so that you can improve your life, particularly connected to your sensitivity, your spirituality, your energy, then my Align program is for you. And what you do is you can have a free complimentary call discussion about that, but it's not a reading. It is a discussion about the seriousness of your attention and why you would wish to embark upon that kind of a program to invest in yourself. If you want something that's a bit more not superficial, a bit more timely for you now, and then book a reading with me, book a consultation. And, or if you want to do some healing work, you can book an Akashic Record consultation. All of that is on my website, www.ninaashby.com. And it's very clearly marked. There's a section that describes my services, and then there's a booking area where you can book the date and the time of your call, the type of call that you want. I'm only working using video or telephone links. I'm available for anybody worldwide. I see clients from all nations in the world. I speak French fluently. I can manage Spanish, but teaching guidance would be in English. And I welcome you. Please look at my website, ninaashby.com, book a consultation with me, and I would be delighted to work with you. My books are also available on Amazon, and my digital downloads are available through my website.
Nina, thank you so much. It's very generous of the things that you have on offer. And I assure you, everybody, Nina is well worth booking a consultation with. I know from experience, she is quite fantabulous. She really is. And she's a wonderful person as well. She's got a big heart, big smile, and a lot of compassion. So she is somebody, especially at this time now during COVID-19, when people require the confidence and understanding of why they are going through this right now. Nina is the person I highly recommend. So thank you so much, Nina. It's been wonderful having you here.
Thank you so much, Susan, for initiating this conversation, which has been so much fun. And I really enjoyed every part of it. And I enjoy also the fact that I'm reaching out to people who you know and to the world to hopefully inspire growth. And if you want to come to me, I would love to see you. Thank you so much.
That's Awaken Your Mind Magic for another week. If anything you've heard today has really impacted you and you want to know more, or you would just like to connect with me, then visit my website, awakenyourmindmagic.com, and reach out for a free one-on-one discovery session with me.
Silver on the outside. Silver on the outside. Gold on the inside. Silver on the outside. Gold on the inside. Silver on the outside.
Tune in next week, where I'll be discussing more tools to unlock your dreams and live a limitless life that you would truly love to live. I'm Susan Kathleen, and this has been Awaken Your Mind Magic.